Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're diving deep into the techniques and fundamentals from guard pulling, full guard, half guard and arm and head control. It's for everybody out there that want to sharpen their tools. This is down to the techniques that actually happens in real competitions. Now let's dive into the action and see what our grappler is facing. You greet your opponent and you want to pull full guard. When you're doing that, I can see a couple of details that we are going to improve right from the bang. You're grabbing his lapel, and that's fine, but I also want you to grab one arm when you are putting your foot on his hip. The reason for that is, if you put your foot on his hip where he has a free hand, he will just push that leg away as soon as possible. So you want to put your foot on the same side as you control his arm so he can't push that leg away. And when you pull him into your guard, you need some momentum. So before sitting down, you need to have some movement. I will show you a way how I do it. So here we can see, I'm taking a big step to the side before I'm pulling my opponent down and sitting down myself. Then I'm placing my foot on the hip and pulling him to me. Now we have some momentum, so he needs to balance with his legs. That makes me able to put my legs around him and pull him into full guard. And later on, you can escalate this technique with a Tomoe Naga sweep. As we can see here, the judoka is stepping in, putting his foot on the hip on the same side as he is controlling the opponent's arm. Then he is throwing himself to the side and pulling his opponent with him. You can throw him in different directions, and I will put a link to that video in the descriptions below where you can see more details on how that's done. And back to the match. Your opponent is trying to pass your legs and you get him into half guard, and that's fine. But if we look at your hand position, we can see that they are down to your hips, and I don't want them to be there. As in most martial arts, you want to keep your hands on the inside so you control what happens between you and your opponent. As soon as you land in half guard, there is 3 details that you should pay really good attention to. The first one is control the far side arm of the opponent where he is trying to control your head. The second one is to not get flattened out, so your shoulders and your hips should never touch the ground at the same time. You should always be on one side facing your opponent. And the third one is keeping your opponent's knee down to the ground so he doesn't just escape the position. Your opponent is continued to trying to pass, and here we can see another basic thing. You are spending valuable energy trying to pull your opponent down into you, and that's not good. Instead, you want to control the distance from the inside, so let go of the grip and try to take control over his arms or his sleeve. As this continues, you are trying to move your arm to the inside, and that's very good, but we can see that it's a bit late and your opponent has already managed to set up a submission because of he was controlling the inside from the beginning. In this situation, he is trying to do an Ezekiel or punch choke. So he is closing one side of your arteries with his biceps and the other one he is trying to close with his fist. So here is 2 things you want to do. You want to get your opponent's hip away from your hip, since the more he stretches out, the weaker he gets in the pressure. The other thing you want to do is to grab the elbow that isn't behind your neck and pull that down so he loses a lot of the power in the choking hand. You though managed to escape the situation, and that's very good. You're getting an underhook on him. In the other words, you're getting your arm under his armpit and putting it on his back. The issue I see though is you're not putting it as far as possible over his back, and you're leaning forward a bit with your head. When your head is collapsing, he has a lot easier time to control your head. Usually this either leads to a D'Arce choke or arm and head control, and we will see the opponent going for the arm and head control. When he is straight forward from you in this situation, you can leave the grip on his back. You're not going to pull him to the side with just one arm. You want to focus on the arms that controlling your head at the moment. So 1, he doesn't guillotine or choke you out, and 2, so you can start to escape the position. You are driving forward in a good fashion, but the opponent is locking up a guillotine on you, so you want to start defending that as soon as possible by keeping your hips away from his. And he is probably going to jump back into full guard, and the reason for him doing that is so you can't control the distance between your hips. So attacking his arms and his hips in this situation is what you actually want to do. So he pulled you into full guard and trying to guillotine you, so you can either go and stack him going forward with your weight, or you want to have your arms on the inside and pulling on his elbow, trying to relieve the pressure on your head. After some scrambling, the opponent is opening his guard and you're managing to go to the side. This looks like it's very good for you. The issue is here, since he's still got you in arm and headlock, he can actually go for an anaconda choke. So what he wants to do is swing his hips as close to you as possible and gather your legs, and that will probably finish the match. So what you want to do is keep his hips as far away as possible, and that's usually done by you turning into your knees and getting up. And you're doing the right thing there, so this is very good. So how do we actually get out of this bad position? He's still controlling your head and arm, but here is a technique to rescue. Here we can see Jeff Glover doing the sucker drag. He's controlling the elbow of the opponent that's closest to his throat. Then he's putting one knee up, and then he's going to change that knee down to the ground while putting the other knee up and pulling the opponent away from him. This is a very good and basic technique that works on all levels. Very basic, but very good. Your opponent is continue to sprawling, and he is doing a really beauty technique here, going for your back and choking you. We will watch the details what actually make this happening. He is trying to go for your back, and you are going for his leg that's far away from you. The issue this creates is you want to go for his closest leg to you, because when you do, he can't step over you with a far leg. But if you are going for the far leg instead, he can jump over your back with the other free leg. And then we know what's going to happen. So when the opponent is in front of you, always go for the closest leg. If he moves that past you, you need to follow the opponent's hip. Thanks a lot for sending me this video. And if you stayed to the end of this video, you probably liked it. I did a similar video last week. You can check it out right here.